So title block, important things are scale, description, how many sheets, sheet size, so you know how to reprint, possibly a coordinate band on either side, you know, top and bottom. Sometimes they're left, right, or left and bottom. Sometimes they're right and top, you see here. And this is so that when you're on a phone call with somebody or you just need to refer to a certain section, you can generally say, okay, look at section A, I'm sorry, 4B or something, and you know you're looking in this general area. So with this opening slide, what we have here is just the views that we're showing. So, so view A, view B, C, and D in this case. And so the way it translates, I think later on here, not so much here, this is more like the various views. So with these views, here we're showing the front and what page that this section is in, but general dimensions. So not every single dimension is placed within this. And so here we're just showing general dimensions, right? And on some of these things, oh, actually, I think Chris is back here. Let's see, he might be taking a break, I'm not sure. Let's see.
He was just here, Professor.
Oh, Liam went. Okay, so Liam went in. Okay, good. Thank you, Inga.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So general dimensions to start off. So this is one of the things that definitely want to make sure that everyone sort of knows, right? So not just all the title block stuff, which is a given. Everyone should have that pretty much down pat by now. The other thing is these lead lines and showing your dimensions. So it's okay if the dimension is right in the center of these lead lines, making sure there's no line going through the number at all. And so you could opt to make this these whatever the dimension is above the line. So if the line does go through, the dimension is up on top. Another thing would be, let's see, what's showing. Sometimes you may show it in dual dimensions. So here we're showing it in inches. Do I even have the units on here? Yeah, all dimensions in inches. So if you do not show it as inches or millimeters, whatever that your units that you're using, you don't show it. So this is more of this like US carpentry. So they're familiar with inches, right? So that's just basically a standard here. So know that we are in this case using inches, not something else. The dimensions themselves, an arrow leading up to a lead line that goes up to the object, but it doesn't actually touch the object, right? Whatever product it is that you're, so these lead lines do not touch. So if it is an arrow that's inside of the object, it can go to the very limit of this object on the inside. So this one can touch with an arrow. If it's a lead line, it shouldn't touch the object. You should steer clear of that. Okay. The largest dimension is usually on the outside. So you see the larger dimension on the outside. Anything smaller than that should be on the inside of that. Okay, so this is showing the cabinet without the feet, that dimension, and then with the feet, that's the entire height down here. Okay, so that's one of those things that you should definitely, take a note of, exactly how those dimensions are arranged. The other thing are the sections. So if you are creating a section, and I'll talk a little bit more about sections in detail. So with a section, it's as if you got this this item here and just sawed it right in, right at that point. So it's as if I cut a line with a saw right at that point. And the arrows show what direction I'm looking at. So I'm looking at this in this direction, right? So it says if I cut it and I'm looking in this direction. And then the A in this case signifies where I can look at this view. So from view A to view A here, this is what's being shown over here. So it's section A to A. So, and this is the view now, right in here. So here it's making a note of various details. So detail B, page 4, detail C, page 4, detail A, and page 4. So not only from the section view, turn this off here. So not only am I showing a section, and usually sections, I don't know why these are missing. So a section view, anything that you saw through, that you're actually cutting through the wood and you're looking at kind of the inside of something, that's where you would see these lines. You know, these it's called cross hatching, and different materials can have different crosshatch lines. So if it's wood, a lot of times, you know, there may be, you may have a little bit of a legend down here saying, okay, if you show it like this, this is wood or something. If you show it like architects, you know, sometimes they might have a symbol for just cement, possibly, or steel or aluminum or whatever they might be, and it will have different crosshatch symbols. Sometimes there may be double lines like this, a series of double lines, and then maybe that's steel. If you have random dots, maybe that's concrete or stone or something. So you can make a legend like this if necessary. You have a lot of materials. In this case, I'm just showing that I'm just cutting through something, and this is the cross hatching of that. Okay, so this is section B to B and what that looks like, so that we can see what's going on the inside. The other thing here, let's see, so these are the details now. So this is showing detail A, detail B, and detail C that we made reference to over here. Just looking at these items just a little bit closer, just to see exactly what those, you know, what's happening with this area. And in this case, I think this was just to show what the rail for this was and how these different pieces are arranged. And I don't think this was completely finished at this point. But yeah, so those are some of the notes there. With let's see, I think this one was pretty good. So this is an example from let's see, from Annie, from a student here. And so this was pretty close. This was pretty close in terms of what you should be doing. So, and I believe this is their close to final orthographic. So on something like this, it probably wouldn't open up with a view like this, like just right from the beginning. I'd probably maybe make an isometric view, kind of like how we did with the other tutorial, and maybe something like, let's see, maybe just in like an overall general, maybe even this one, like a view like this, like what is it? You know, how do you sort of present it from the very beginning? Okay, so, but anyway, so in terms of all the dimensions, I think generally it was pretty good. It was good. It was some of these things were maybe a little bit off in these lead lines here. I shouldn't be there. I would probably extend this out. Like this arrow. You can bring this out here and bring this out here. So something like that. And usually the number goes above it. So it's okay to do that. The lead lines in this case were pretty good. Probably maybe just a little bit closer, but pretty much in line here. With something like this, I'd probably show this. Let's see. I'd probably show this on the inside. Like I wouldn't put these lead lines on the outside, or even you could probably bring them all the way over here, like that, and then that becomes your number. Put the number on top, and all this stuff goes down in here. like that. The alternative to this would be to bring this whole thing on the inside here, because this is a gap. This is showing kind of like a storage bin or something. And one of the things she did that was really nice also was the line weight. So the line weight being a little bit thicker on the outside. Okay, so the alternative would be to take it out from the outside and put it on the inside, because this is a kind of a bin, and you may want to do that. So making sure that the arrows go to the ends here, and then this one as well. So maybe this can also go. So you can kind of cross the lead lines here. Make sure that the arrows go all the way to the end, and do something like that. So that's another possibility there. But yeah, generally pretty good here in terms of all the items that were ghosted in.
I have a question. Does the 1, 2, and 3 on the top signify inches, or?
No, good question. This is more of a coordinate, I guess you could say, coordinate system for the page. So in case someone needs to refer to an area here, let's say, you're on the phone with someone and say, okay, well, I'm looking at A3, the dimension on A3. So I look, okay, over here, A3. So kind of looking in this general area here. And so that's where they're referring to. That's the area they're referring to. So it's not necessarily, a ruler or a certain scale or anything like that. They're more like coordinates to help out with just saying, okay, this is the area I'm looking at. And it kind of just derived from days of you're on the phone with someone, you can just FaceTime or share a screen or anything like that. That's definitely more recent. So now we can make, these kind of annotations, which make things faster. But you never know. You never know what vendor you're talking to. Maybe in another country or something, and maybe you are on the phone. So it's always good to at least have that. Have that in place.
That's helpful.
Yeah, you could be on a phone call or something. So yeah, some pretty good views here, showing details of some of the items. So pretty comprehensive set of drawings for a product 2 final orthographic.
Professor, do you have it on file? I was wondering if you you could share it or no, or?
I think this one, yeah, this one I can share it. Yeah, because this was how was it, one or 2 terms ago? And that Annie prepared this. So working on this card. I think this was it from I think it was the summer of last year when we got into the pandemic and stuff. So it's kind of a cleaning cart. So we're in the thick of the pandemic. We're going to look back on these products and just like, wow, we were in it. So yeah, but yeah, I think I can share this one. Also, I do want to share these guys here, this guys and girls here, because they do have a female version of these illustrations. They're ergonomic, posable, and by posable I mean you can grab some of these elements and rotate them to reposition some of these items here. So they're grouped in a sense so that you can do that. Yeah. So it's based off of the human scale. If you guys are familiar with that, it's one of those important books and documents that everyone should definitely have a reference to and know about.
Question about the human scale. 6 inch is always when we're doing an ortho like this, it's always 6 inch for a model, or
you're talking about the entire height here for this one?
For a standard model, but now when I saw the right, it says 5 inches for 5.4. So I thought it was always 6-inch, but sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh, see, I see what you mean. So you see the 5.4 here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
So
thought it was always 6-inch. So
not
was
always, no. I'll talk about that in a second. Let me finish up with this drawing and I'll talk about this human scale in a second, because that's important too. This, basically the percent was called percentiles. But yeah, I'll talk about that in a second here. So let me just make sure I kind of covered everything. Oh yeah, so this is another good example here. So if you are familiar with SolidWorks, which a lot of you either are or taking the class now or going to be, in case you don't take the class with me necessarily, this is something that derived from SolidWorks. So someone built a model of this controller, put it into the drawing, it's called the drawing module within SolidWorks, and then output this as a PDF. So that's just something that how some of these things are produced. It's not just Illustrator. So hey, Chris, on your back. Gary, did you want to go in and talk with Chris?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So let me put
Good.
Chris in there.
Okay.
I mean, Gary.
Good.
Thank you. So sometimes these are derived straight from SolidWorks. So, oh, interesting. Let me put this note here. Let me see. So what you get is just this grouped element here. So what you have to do is either ungroup it or let's see, I think this one, let me make sure how this, I think this might actually be no, it's not a picture. Let's see if I can ungroup this. Seems like it's vector, right? Okay, actually I thought that might have been, I guess it is a vector. It says PDF, but maybe how it was derived was a.
I think
not.
PDF eliminates vector and put it to a RAS.
Not always. I mean, you can definitely keep it as vector within a PDF like this one.
I think I
See
might
how all
try
this stuff is.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think I might try that, Jesus, with the SolidWorks because my form is like simple enough that it won't be that difficult for me to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, might try that.
I do want to make let's see, I'm going to give you guys an example of that though. Make sure that you know here. Let's see. Give me a second here. I just want to look for the correct file. Okay, let me pause this. So the extra data that comes from SolidWorks is some of the stuff that you may want to get rid of. And one of the main things are these tangent lines. So this was derived, see, we have this outside line. So we have this outer line, and then we have these inner lines with these kind of gaps in between. And what this is representing are these different faces that are in SolidWorks and the way the model is constructed. But it's stuff that you don't need. You don't really need to show, the way this face connects with this face, especially with a line that is the same thickness and value as the outer line. It just confuses someone that looks at this and saying, okay, is there like a little gutter that's on the outside of this and maybe like a vertical wall or something? Is that why they're showing this? So it's one of those things that you would get rid of. So you can get your direct selection tool, which is this one. the direct select versus the object select. In this case, if it's grouped, the object select would just select everything. Whereas the direct selection, you can go in and select maybe a couple of the anchor points, delete those anchor points, and then the rest of the anchor points where that line gets selected, and then just hit delete again. So sometimes you just have to hit delete twice to get rid of the whole thing if it's grouped. So usually I just go around and delete all of these lines. So all you're left with are the lines that you need, which is the outline. And like I said, when Chris was here, you don't overload your viewer with data because it just confuses everybody. So, and the other thing here is the way it brings in the data. So you can see that a curved line is made up of a lot of little, just straight lines. And that's just the way it represents it. It's not like the perfect path, right? Like here we're used to maybe an illustrator doing something like this, where these anchor points or these anchor point handles can describe a curved line. And I just have 2 anchor points, and based on these handles, I get this nice curve. But in SolidWorks, you don't get that. You just get a series of these straight lines. So you can, let me double click that, select a line, go up to Object Path, and click on Simplify. So to help reduce that data, those data points, you see now we have this interface here that we can slide. We get the slider, and we can turn on the what's called the option window, like a better term, for the simplify, and just seeing what the how much do you want to simplify? Do you want it to be really curved, which may change the path slightly, or do you want to keep some of that detail? Maybe just slide it over here, and you can see some of the anchor points are left here. But the big thing with this is that we do translate that into a curve instead of a series of straight lines. Now it's a curve, kind of like I drew right next to this. So I hit OK. And if I look at this again and click on those endpoints, it converts it to a curved line with its own set of handles. Okay, so that's probably like the best thing about that simplify tool. So again, if I click on that, it's made up of a bunch of straight lines. And they really improved this tool in the last, even just in the last version, 2021. So you guys are lucky in that it wasn't as reliable as, especially this simplified handle here. Now we get this just very, very simple handle. You can just slide this over to this, let's see. If I select the whole thing, let me see, I think I just selected it with a direct. So I can double click it to type into that. There we go. So now I can go in and say path. Well, first of all, object, path, and simplify. There we go. So start off all the way on the right and see how fast can you get to the minimum amount of points. So on the very right, it can go down to 11 points. That's the original. If I just slide it not too far back, it already goes to 2 points. If you slide it too much to the left, it might distort the path because it might just simplify it too much in that it changes the shape of this path. All right, so just kind of try to stay on the right as much as possible so it doesn't change so much. There it is. So now I have these 2 simplified paths next to each other. And at this point, you may want to join those 2 paths. So and by joining, I mean making this one path and then this other one path to one single path instead of 2 paths. So you do that by selecting the endpoints of the 2 paths and then joining them. Let's see if we go under path and join. And it's a very common thing that you would do. So it's just Command J. It's a very very simple thing to do. So now that they're joined, now it's all one path here. So you can go around and just keep going with that, right? You can keep going with the simplification of those elements, with this curved element here. And go path, simplify. There we go, pretty good. And we don't want to move it. Join. And you would just keep going all the way around the edge here. Some things you may want to replace, like altogether, just probably be faster. Maybe just use the ellipse tool to create maybe a new circle here or a new point there. Might be faster. But also keep in mind that you want to get rid of these interior filleted or fillets. But yeah, you can already see how this path on the right looks much smoother than the path on the left here.
Oh,
And then also you can work on one side and then mirror it or reflect it to the other. Good question.
I have a question on the SolidWorks part, Professor. When those numbers, is it automatic? When
Some yes and no. Some are automatic. You can go insert dimensions and it'll try to dimension most of the items. So I think a lot of these were automatic, all of these here. But in the way it arranges them, it may not be optimal. Like here, I'm not sure why it went to like this. I think it's maybe the top of the joystick here, but the top of the joystick is not visible in this view. So this 1 inch is not valid in this. So I'd probably just take that one away. So I probably wouldn't even use this dimension. So sometimes those automated dimensions will dimension something and you wouldn't even really use it. Like in this case, and this is a raw file that came straight from SolidWorks, so without any kind of fixing. So a lot of times you do have to just go back in and fix some of these items. And so yeah, so yes and no. So yes, some are automated, some you do have to go in and either adjust or do something else with them. Maybe reposition those dimensions. Sometimes it's the text. Well, I guess this text is pretty good. Good thing is the text does come back through as text and not like shapes of letters. So maybe you want to change the font or the letter. Maybe you can.
Professor.
So,
Sorry, another question. When we print this out or give it to someone to print it out, they on 3D print they do it by inch or centimeters or
usually in that industry, yeah, I would probably use centimeters.
okay.
Yeah, usually, unless they ask specifically for inches. It depends on the service bureau, what you're used to. I would ask them, what units do you prefer? That might be my second or third question. Right after, like, how much does it cost?
I'm sorry, I
They're
didn't
pretty
know.
expensive.
I'm just
Further
curious.
on in future terms, at least the teachers that I had, they preferred having everything in millimeters as just kind of like a base. I think when I submitted 3D files, they were also on millimeters.
Oh, at school.
Yeah, at
Oh.
school.
Mhm.
So I would recommend just kind
Yeah.
of getting used to it. At least just from experience, that's what I use personally.
But is it 1 to 5 or is it always 1 to 1 when you're doing a millimeter?
It would be 1 to 1.
On the paper.
Well, unless you're scaling it, let's say you had a big cabinet or something, you just want to make a 3D print scale, then it would be in the scale, like 1 to 5 or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry.
But I think these machines internally, like you're right, the teachers do prefer that, and it works with millimeters, just the conversions, the computer is not going to be, trying to convert, 7/64 or something, it's just the math just isn't, it's not quite as accurate. So I think internally it is in millimeters, centimeters, millimeters, and all that. So yeah, it's something to get used to that.
Thank you.
Mhm. So yeah, so the topic here being, just being able to clean up your SolidWorks drawings and getting rid of all these, all this data that you really don't need, all these fillet tangent edges, and just leaving the ones that you do need. Okay, and then cleaning up those edges, making them smoother, using the simplify tool to make these round elements, making them actually round instead of just these faceted elements, and then joining them with other things. So, okay. So it works on that. And also maybe if you have an isometric view, you don't forget to get rid of some of those fillet lines on there as well. Okay. Sometimes you may want to leave some lines, maybe something like this, where, yeah, so you may want to just show a few of these lines just to show that there's a radius there, but they don't actually touch. Right, just to show that there is a turn of a corner, but it's by not meeting these other lines, it kind of shows that it's curved on that element, on that side. Any double lines that you're seeing like this, get rid of all this stuff, get rid of all that. So there is some kind of junk that you do have to remove from SolidWorks. Okay. And
Professor,
what other?
do you use I'm just curious is there masking in Illustrator like the same how I mask in Photoshop, or it's different?
No, there's no, it's not masking. It would be called, you would go to a clipping, it's called a clipping mask. It's not the same thing. It's vector based. You're basically nesting it inside of another shape.
Okay, because I tried working on I tried masking in Illustrator, I just don't know how. So
yeah, like this one, let me put this one aside here. So like this view, if you wanted to mask this view,
yeah.
Let's say you're making a detail, that might be so it's saying, okay, I want to make a detail of just this area, I don't want to show the whole view, so I'm going to put it inside of a circle here. Okay, so you select the view and the circle, you go to object and you clip it. So it says make clipping mask. So when you do the make clipping mask, it basically masks it with that shape. And the shape is still there. So it's all vector, it's all there. What you would do is, so there's a circle. So if you do want the circle to show up, what I would do is actually give it a line weight. Actually, you have to give it to the click it.
This is helpful for hiding imperfections, right? Like in Illustrator.
Imperfections?
No? Yeah, no. Like dodges from vertices, like too many vertices to work at, or.
I would use a simplify for that. In this case, I wouldn't necessarily hide imperfections with a clipping mask.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how you would do that. This is just to mask this element out. And let me duplicate that actually. Another one. So when you want to release that, take it out of the clipping mask. Or actually, if you even want to work inside of it, you can still. So everything is still there. So if I select it and you want to just take it out of the mask, you can select release. So it releases it from it, and then the items are separated again.
Oh,
so if you want to look at it in the layers and see what it looks like, you can see there's it's called a clipping group. So this ellipse here is serving as the mask for this compound path. The compound path being this view here, this one that we selected. So this is masking this. So if you ever just want to select maybe just the ellipse in this case, you can select it by clicking to the right, and that selects only the ellipse, not the other one. That way you can go in and change, let's say, the line weight of the outside line, maybe its characteristics, anything like that. So, you know, and the color, possibly color of that line. Oops. Go back here and select only the ellipse. Okay. And then maybe you want to just give it a different color.
What's the ideal, like, what's your preference for the line weight, professor, for the outside line weight? Like, what point do you
2
want?
points usually. Usually it's 2 points to 0.75 points on the inside, points.
Okay.
So yeah, the outside lines. Go over here, set it to 2 points. And make sure that you only select just this one, you know, just that one. Let's see. Go. Oh, you know what? I think this is all one compound path. Let me release that. So all of these right now, it's considering everything as one path. That's why when I change, even if I change one segment, everything's changing. And I think that's just another one of those things that came in from SolidWorks that way. So what I do over here now is select compound path and release that. So it looks like there's no changes, but what actually happened is it kept it from being one singular, like it sees it as one singular path, even though like the circles are separate, and puts it as a separate path. So go back up here, say release. And now I'm able to select only, you know, one line or the other and change the dimension for that. So 2 points on the outside and like either 1 point or 0.75 for the inside lines. And it depends on the scale too of your drawing. If you're working a really small scale, it might be like 1.5 or even a 1 point on the outside and then like 0.5 on the inside or something. Usually dimension lines like this is like 0.5, make it even smaller to really differentiate it between this and any lines on the outside here. So like this probably wouldn't be a dimension I would even do. So I'd probably take this whole thing out here. Even this one. There's some like what I call like junk dimensions that I wouldn't even put them in. Not necessary in that view. But yeah, so yeah, good questions there in terms of how all this stuff gets arranged. And I am making, let's see, I do want to talk really quick when I'm on orthographic. Here we go. This is a file I want to give you guys too. So this is derived from Human Scale, that book. And when we were at Jacuzzi, we kind of went through and we created these multiple sizes because we wanted to make sure that kind of everybody fits in our spas. And so we came up with these different views, different sizes, you know, one thing we had to do, you know, overweight males, females, because that's just the nature of the business, right? You want to make sure everybody fits in there and how they fit in there, you know, from the very small to the very big. And in getting this, you know, we decided on to 10 scale because it was easy to work with. And so working with 10th scale, we can see that the 50 percentile male in the US is 5'6", actually no, 5'9", 69 inches. So the average, 50 percentile, and everybody, know your percentages and all that in percentiles. Not necessarily the average, but it's the kind of the what is it, the mean average. So this is what the scale kind of works out to. Gradual up climb to the center 50 percentile here, and then a steeper drop off as you get to the higher, the taller people, I should say. And the 99 percentile being, the tallest people, back in not the very tallest, because we don't do the, like world record, limits, because they're a handful, literally, of those people, but approaching that. So in this case, it's 6'3", 6 and almost 6'4" would be in the 99 percentile for people. So it's still a pretty sizable chunk of this population. It's still, it could be in the hundreds that are 6'4" or close to 6'4". And so, yeah, and then on the other side, on the other end of the spectrum, 1 percentile male there is at 5, a little bit under 5'3". Okay, but usually you kind of work with averages. That's how the automotive standards and all that. And sometimes this fluctuates over the years, but generally stays the same. I think it fluctuates more from country to country. So we do take that into account, seeing, if we get a lot of shipments, maybe, to Northern Europe or something, or Canada or Australia or something, or China, and seeing exactly what the percentiles are there, and then maybe adjust our seats for that, or accessories and things. And so we get a side view, front view, as well as above top view here, plan view. And then also the lounge view, this, how do they look in this lounge version here? And so it's something I think everyone can use. I mean, not just in this class, but later on. So I'll put this on the .ed for everybody. So everybody has access to it. And like I said, these are posable in being that if you go over here to the layers, on the layers, we have different layers here for the 1 percentile, 50 percentile. And then with that, if you go to the, let's say 50 percentile female, let's see, which one is that one? Oh, that's way over here. Let me just select one of these. So when you click on something, so you click on it, double click it to go into that group. And then once you double click on it, like in this case, we have the arm. And if you do want to rotate the arm for another position, you can click on the rotate tool, click where you want to rotate from, where your pivot point's going to be. So I click here, and then you can go in and start to rotate. So the whole thing rotates at that point. Okay. If you want to dig a little further than that, let's say the elbow, you double click it again, and then you go into that group, this nested element. So in this case, I'll click on the forearm and the hand. I'll go back to rotate. I'll click on this pivot point, X or cross, and then do that. So maybe it's a reach element that you want to do. It's not, there's no limits in terms of how far you can, move the arm up. It's sort of unlimited. You can't really do that in Illustrator. Set you can in SolidWorks set limits, but you can't in so you may have to look that up. Like what exactly is, for the age group, what is the reach angle limit? So you may want to add some extra data if maybe your teacher requires that, or the product requires that. You may want to do something like this, where it's you add that data point there. So something like this, you would cut it in these different parts here, and then add an arrow to it. and put an arrow at the beginning, the end, and then some kind of dimension, right? So let's say it's 128 degrees. And to get that, the degrees on the Mac, it's option Shift 8. So Shift 8 is the asterisk, option Shift 8 is the degree symbol. That's how you would get the degree. So maybe you want to do something like that.
I'm sorry, I don't have a Mac, Professor.
I'm not sure if it's on the same thing on the PC. I'm sure there's a way to get the degree symbol on a PC, or either that or just put a little circle in Illustrator. But in Illustrator, I think you can go into the font. So you go to Type, Fonts, and depending on what font you have, let's see, Show Hidden Characters. There we go. Let's see, I think I could be in a font here. Okay. Insert special characters. So Illustrator comes with, I guess, let's see. I haven't had to put it in here. So oops, paragraph symbol registered. Selection, let's do. Yeah, maybe there's gotta be a way. I'm sure you can look it up. And on the PC, you just try different things. I know there's also a font. I know on the Mac, there's basically like a font book that you can look up, look these things up. You go to apps, go to your fonts. So I think Illustrator has something like this as well. Let's see, if I go to all fonts and pick something kind of basic, Helvetica New. So it shows you all the basic characters, all the different fonts within that. But also, I'm going to go to View. Go to View Repertoire, option 2. And it shows you all, like every single character within that font. So the font has a multitude of, characters, not just the alphabet. So if you ever need something like this, you would select it, copy it, and then paste it. So a lot of Greeking kind of things and other characters. Be sure the degree is in here somewhere. Oh, there it is. So there's the degree symbol. I think if you, let's see, if you click on it, I think there's a way to view like what exactly this key combination is. Oh, there it is. You hit Option or just hover over it. Glyph number, what did it say? If I hover over it, yeah, glyph 261. Combining ring above, that's what it's called. But yeah, I don't know how you can get to it on a PC though. I'm sure the PC has something similar to this. This is a popular one, just a registration symbol or a copyright symbol, a trademark, all of that good stuff. But if you don't know the key combination, you can always just copy it from here and then go in here and paste it. So there it is there. Okay,